Hello YouTube, Message and Bother here with another video. Now, this video, I consider this a continuation from the last video. I keep mumbling my words around. But in all seriousness, I wanted to make more videos about my personal thoughts, feelings, and like basically vomiting my emotions and what I think about when it comes to life stuff. And as a man, obviously, um, I know I said obvious. Now that I think about it, especially with this day and age, it's kind of crazy that a lot of people are becoming schizophrenic, and I think we're gonna see more of that in the near future because people they're just losing their minds. I'm also losing my mind, but I try my best to revert it. I try my best to be healthy. I'm surprisingly healthier than most people, but my body is trying to resist the temptation of overeating because I love food. I'm not gonna lie. I used to be a chef. Fun fact about myself. But in this video, what I want to discuss is women's sexual regrets and my personal observation of something that I've been noticing about women, and it just outright baffles me. But this is why, once again, MGTOW was becoming popular. Why the notion of don't get married is becoming popular, even though it's a tradition and people has been doing it for thousands and thousands of years. And once again, in my previous video, I stated that I do not hate women. I want the best for women. I love women because I'm a straight man, and I really do wish the best for them. I wish them the happiness, prosperity, equal rights as men, etc., etc. The problem is because people are becoming schizophrenic. Women they have this. I don't want to say belief, but more like they've been convinced that they are capable of doing stuff without men, and to some certain extent that is true. But so do us. Us men, we are also capable of doing stuff without women, but that's to a certain extent. What do I mean by that? Well, in my last video, I did say that men and women were supposed to be partners, and I still stand by that. The notion and the narrative of man versus woman is outright stupid, and whoever made that notion, they're winning and they're evil. And I don't think it's a singular person. I think it's a group of people that truly wants to destroy society, but they want to destroy it slowly. And like I said, men and women, we need each other. We're supposed to be partners. We're supposed to work with each other. But this day and age, especially with this whole schizophrenic narrative that's going on, for some reason, it's a man versus woman thing, and I freaking hate that because, for one, how the hell do we exist? I mean, straight up, if this whole man versus woman narrative um, supposedly is natural, then us as a species wouldn't exist. It's kind of funny and playful if we were, how do I say this, little kids, because the whole girl versus boy thing is kind of funny uh, before the age of puberty. But once we mature, once we become adults, that's where we're supposed to understand that it's always been men and women working together. So, not to go off topic and straight, because as you can see in this background of this footage, I'm showing off this poster picture of the woman, or should I say the girl with the dragon tattoo. This movie was very popular, and this movie was so good that it had couple of sequels, and yeah, it's basically been a series. And the movie was so good because originally it was not made in America, it's made in Sweden, my understanding. And this movie was very good that the Americans they made their own remake of this movie. The remake of the movie, for some reason they didn't make sequels, but the original series it did. The original movie made a sequel. And when I watched this when I was younger, because I watched this many years ago, um, this movie shocked me. But what I really love is how well made the characters were. Now, if you guys been watching my YouTube channel, I've been saying over and over again that art is a reflection of our reality, meaning that when you pay close attention to movies, books, especially ones that are well written, you kind of could tell that this is something very relatable that we could see in real life. And what do I mean by that? I mean, there are some observation that we could make in real life, and sometimes when people make movies, books, other entertainment media, their ideas often is based on real life facts. So where I'm getting at this? Well, this movie, it's definitely a pro women movie, and me personally, I have nothing, against it. Sometimes I watch feminist movies, sometimes I watch pro woman movie. As long as it's entertaining, as long as it's good. Because me, I don't like watching garbage. I like watching generally a good movie, and this one really is a good movie. And there was nothing anti-male about this movie, which is very good because I freaking hate the narrative of man versus woman. And speaking of man versus woman, this movie also showcased how man and woman are supposed to work together. Because in the movie, as you can see in this poster, the main protagonist, she's a woman, and she was a little rebellious against the law. But the guy that you see in the poster, he is a law-abiding individual who has good moral characters, and he tried his best to help her. And through the efforts of, you know, helping her, both of them had a little romance in this movie. But this movie also features sexual violence and sexual abuse of women. And the main protagonist, she did, suffer those sexual abuse, and she got her revenge. So you could say this movie was a good revenge story for the protagonist. But what I really like about this movie is how realistic it depicted and how the shock value. Darn it, sorry guys, my phone again. How the shock value of this movie was not wasted and it had a purpose. Because once again, I like good movies. I don't like trashy. You know, I if I watch trashy movie, I'm probably gonna like stop watching it in the middle of it. But this movie had a good hook and had a good narrative, good storytelling going on. And because of that, I ended up watching its sequels. Now, as I mentioned, in this movie, it had a disturbing, sexual violence scene. And the sequel was trying to imitate the first movie. Now, the sequel is called The Girl Who Played with Fire. And there was a very disturbing moment in the movie that showcased sexual violence. Now, why I'm bringing this movie up is because, as I stated, guys, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record and repeating myself, but I just want to make a point and hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say in this video. Once again, art is a reflection of our reality, and sometimes when we watch a movie, it kind of relates to what happened in real life. Now, in the previous video, I mentioned about my ex. I mentioned about her partying, about her, doing drugs, and me understanding that cocaine is a sex drug and makes a woman, very hyper and very proactive sexually. And when you pay close attention what's going on in partying, most party, if they feature drugs, it's usually cocaine. And when they feature cocaine, especially the girls that takes cocaine, they're willing to do a one night stand. They're very hype up to it. And because of that, You could say that it snowballs into disaster if the woman is not careful. Which my ex, she told me a story that she got scared, and one time when she was partying and doing one night stand because there was kidnappings going on. And I find that very interesting that she brought that up because sometimes when a woman goes out and do a party, especially with a bunch of strangers, and if she does cocaine and drugs and do one night stand, they're very vulnerable in human trafficking and kidnapping. And when they get human trafficked and kidnapped, they tend to become, best way I could put it, sex slaves. And in this movie, the sequel, it featured that, and it was very disturbing. This moment of this movie, and I'm gonna share it right here, it sort of traumatized me, best way I can put it, but not severely. Don't worry, guys. I'm not mentally destroyed by watching this moment of this scene. But it did stick with me, and the reason why it stick with me is because of how realistic this was depicted. The woman, she was forced into doing it, and the background story of this woman was very interesting. She got kidnapped while she went out disobeying her parents, and she was partying. And when she got kidnapped, she was, you know, human trafficked and became a sex slave, essentially, especially by this group of gangs that had an issue with the main protagonist of the series. Now, if that sounds something similar, it's because I have a gut feeling the creator of this movie, and of course the entire franchise, he must have, you know, did his homework when it comes to criminology and crimes and what happens in, Europe. Because once again, this is a European movie. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the creator of this movie, he's very deep in the whole criminology stuff and how things happen in the underworld. And this moment of this scene was, in my opinion, accurately depicted, but at the same time, very disturbing. It honestly haunts me. This is more disturbing, in my opinion, than the first movie, sexual violence scene. Because in the first movie, sexual violence scene, the main protagonist, when she became a victim of sexual violence, she resisted, she screamed, she was emotionally, distraught, and she tried her best to resist and all that stuff. She was wearing clothes, etc., etc. But this scene, and by the way, there's sorry to cut myself off. By the way, there's two different versions of this scene. The one, the unedited version, and the second one, the regular version. The regular version, for some reason, they put this scene in the within 20 or 11 minutes of this movie, but in the extended unedited version, the director's cut, they put this scene in the very beginning in order to, drive a narrative and make the narrative look good. But in the okay, both scenes, they're practically the same, but in the extended version, they had a little detail, extra detail about this character. But anyway, to go back on track, what was very disturbing, especially in the extended version, since it added more details in this scene and more, seconds in the scene. What was super disturbing, and I find this very realistic, but at the same time, very. For some reason, it reminded me of my ex because my ex, when she got into a relationship, she confessed to me that she got into a relationship with guys that she did not like, and she had sexual regrets with those ex boyfriends that she had, and she forced herself to have sex with her ex boyfriend. And that word right there, forcing herself, or that phrase, forcing herself to have sex with her ex boyfriend, really did bother me. But at the same time, nobody forced her to do it. She voluntarily forced herself. to do it, if that makes any sense. And for some reason, this is what I'm noticing with a lot of girls who does this when it comes to a one night stand, getting into a relationship with guys that they're not attracted to, etc., etc. You guys will notice this as well if you guys pay attention. But anyway, this scene was super disturbing to me, more disturbing than the first movie, because in this scene, this woman that you see right here, she forced herself to sleep with this man, and this man, he was depicted as ugly, and the man was drooling on her, very disgusting. That's why here I only could show this part of this scene. I cannot show more because YouTube is gonna ban me and all that jazz. But sorry guys, I'm laughing because now that I think about the YouTube context policy. But anyway, back to the subject. What's super disturbing about this scene is that the woman, she forced herself, and when she was forcing herself, she voluntarily got naked. She voluntarily let herself get tied up on the bed in order for the guy to have his way with her. And the guy, he was in a state of, best way I can put it, euphoria, basically in a state of pure happiness and addiction. And because of his state of happiness and addiction, he was drooling on her. Now that does sound disturbing, and but the most disturbing part is how accurately how the woman was reacting to the situation. And to me, this is the most traumatizing part for me to see this. The woman, she barely reacts, and she obviously did not, she's not enjoying the sex. Now, I know this is fiction, and I know this is, fake, but I have a gut feeling that the creator of this movie, he did his homework. And this is something that we could observe in real life. A lot of women, they're not attracted to the guy that they're sleeping with. And because of that, they have sexual regrets. Because of that, they, break up with their boyfriend eventually because they realize they're not truly attracted to their man that they want to be with. And I always wonder why women do this. Why women force themselves to be with a guy that, that they're not sincerely attracted to. Now, I know this might come off like a bad example, but the reason why I'm using this footage is because it really did remind me of my ex, especially the fact that she went out partying, she did cocaine, did one night stand, and at the same time, she forced herself to sleep with her boyfriend, but she, best way I could put it, voluntarily forced herself. Nobody was truly, holding her captive. In this movie, this woman was being held captive, but she forced herself to sleep with a guy that she find it disgusting, and she was in this scene. It was like the inversion of the sexual violence scene from the first movie. And when I say inversion, I mean in the first movie, the main protagonist was resisting, she was emotionally distraught, she was crying, she was kicking, she was doing her best, and she was fully clothed. She was doing her best to not become a victim. But in this scene, the woman, she voluntarily forced herself to sleep with the man. She got butt naked from, no clothing at all, purely butt naked. Got herself tied up voluntarily and allowed the man to, use her body as a plaything. And my ex did the same thing. She slept with a couple of dudes, let the dudes use her body like a plaything. And I bet my money that she kind of self-traumatized her. And a lot of women does this. You guys are gonna notice it. A lot of women like to self-traumatize themselves, sexually speaking, and because of that, they have a hard time staying in a relationship, especially with a guy that they truly do not find them attractive, which is always gonna baffles me from years to come. I'm always gonna be baffled how women they are willing to be in a relationship and sleep with guys that they don't truly find attractive. But this is one of those mysteries that, we're not gonna figure out anytime soon. I bet people did figure it out, but the answer is very vague. Best way I can put it. So yeah, I'm just making this video, guys, to rant my thoughts out about this. But yeah, this is very a disturbing culture trend that women like to do to themselves. Well, guys, I'm gonna end it here. Message in a bottle, over and out.